Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming up with you with another video. Alright, so it's early in the morning. You know me. When I go to sleep around 8:30, 9 o'clock, you can bet I'm going to be up before the sun rises. The body clock does not love me in that way. I think the therapy session I want to address, I guess what's on my mind is nothing that's going on with me. You guys know, unless I'm stressed, I'm pretty much cool in terms of trying to vent or address my own mental health. I think part of freely allowing my mind to go is addressing specific topics when it's time to talk about myself in therapy. Because the crux, I guess is the word, of my brain is just putting stuff together. If I'm not stressing over something, I'm just thinking about something or creating something in my head, or you know what I mean? It's not like I'm just mulling over wall paint or nothing. It's always something. So this is what I got in my head right now. Ben Affleck, great actor. I'm a fan. He did a show on PBS called Finding Your Roots, I believe it is. I've never heard of it until today. But I guess what they found on there, looking into his history, was that his family, had owned slaves. And they, from what I read in this excerpt, they edited that part out and have gone forward with trying to scrub that part of the show off of the internet, I guess is what it is. I'm not certain they're scrubbing it, but they're trying to essentially keep us from seeing him find out that information. I think America needs to understand something about Black Americans. We really are not going to anytime soon forget that aspect of our history. It's not something you can PR your way out of, America. And when you do that, I can't speak for anyone other than myself, of course, but when I see stuff like that, it's hurtful and offensive. Because what I found myself wrestling with as I grew older, as a man, was the confusion of the behavior of the people that were wronged in response to the way they were treated. I've been wrestling with that as a grown man because I've lived my entire life in a world where I honestly do not understand my very own behavior as it pertains to knowing my history, knowing who did what to whom, and walking amongst them freely and comfortably as if it did not happen. Not only that, but to live in a world where to speak of such wrongdoings is considered offensive to the people who did the wrongdoing. And because they have control of so much in the land that we're in, they can do stuff like this. Try to erase the reaction to a history that is factual to us all. This type of thing makes me ashamed of being an American, because one thing I pride myself on being as an American is someone who challenges himself to be accountable for both his sins and his rights and the right things that I do in this life. I want to be able to stand on my actions. And it's hard to teach that to others and lead by example in that way when the very country that I stand on does a great job of not holding itself accountable for that particular wrongdoing. Now, I'm not one of these people that's sitting up here trying to make an argument for different types of returns or reparations. That is not my conversation at this moment. All I'm saying is, when things like this take place, and you understand that the PR system of today is trying to make people forget that something like that took place, you're gonna have people be very, very upset about that, and I am one of them. Very upset about that. I'm very upset that so many times this subject has been handled in a way similar to this, to where they've done it so much to now we have that norm of black people should be challenged for bringing up slavery. Black people should not be looking to stand up for themselves as it pertains to saying Black Lives Matter. We are supposed to let that go, not hold anybody accountable, not be upset, and dare we bring it up. And my friends, I hate to tell you this, but that has never made any sense to me in this country. I look at every other living organism that I am aware of, all of them, every animal, every human, in every facet of life, minus the understanding of agreed obliviousness, right? Without the presence of that, what you have is war. I can't figure out why we're so kind to one another when this is the history and it hasn't been resolved by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's because we've been in this space so long, and I talk about it as one of those things that I say in norms that aren't normal. This is one of them. This is a norm, something that we've agreed to that does not align with the normal behavior of living organisms. You don't get to torture an organism for 450 plus years, then stay in the same space with that organism, and there be no fighting amongst you after that other organism gets out from under that 450 year bondage. I can't understand why we're not completely going crazy at one another. I really don't get it. I think America is officially in a space where there is something divine holding us together. Because if you did this to any type of animal, any type of bacteria, any type of entity whatsoever, they would not be able to coexist. This is sorcery. And I don't mean that literally, but if you can come up with something that helps me understand how we've been able to do this without being at each other's throats, I don't know. I'm appreciative of it because I like peace. I appreciate that we've been able to coexist and love one another. But is it real as it pertains to the foundation from which it stands? Because as far as I can tell, we haven't addressed our issues and we're still hiding from them. And judging by the fact that this is a therapy session, I can align that as parallel with what it is that otherwise happens when I don't do therapy sessions. I don't address the problem. It doesn't get fixed. I'm not healing. I'm not getting better. I think America has found a way to manipulate its citizens into not handling or addressing that problem, and because of it, we're sweeping it under the rug. And as we sweep it under the rug, with every passing generation, we do more and more PR rug pulling, or rather covering, over the slavery conversation. The more the seed gets planted that this is something that isn't normal. In the minds of people like myself who wake up in this environment, look around as free thinkers, and do not understand why everybody is fine. Simple as that. I'm not in disagreement with it. I'm not telling you we need to pick up pickaxes and swing them at each other or be stupid about this. I think the harmony that we have is admirable. I just worry that it isn't real. I worry that one day, one of these generations is going to wake up fully aware of what it is that I'm saying, having no care for the many, many rugs that we've pulled over this conversation. It will go straight to war at each other like natural enemies would in the presence of 450 years of this type of energy back and forth. I don't know how we've done this, but it has to be God, man. It has to be. Because when I look up and I look on forums and I see people who look just like the people who slaved me and my people, and I'm not supposed to say me because I didn't go through slavery. It's not supposed to affect me in such a way where I personalize it, even though I live with the reality of such every day because of this type of energy in the world right now, where they want me to not only not heal from what it is, but not find clarity to what is going on. This just further puts more cloud over my understanding of what natural behavior should be when torture takes place versus what is happening. I feel like this is one giant Stockholm Syndrome case. Am I not supposed to feel that way as an African American? Like I got some type of sick Stockholm Syndrome? And I couldn't be more serious when I say this. The realities of what we know about slavery should make it so that we live either in horror or hatred, one or the other. Nothing else makes any sense to me, to be completely honest with you. The only thing I can honestly say is that they have done such a fantastic job of manipulating our minds into being docile and not upset about something that should otherwise make us furious forever. Like internally furious, not just I'm angry for a year. I'm talking about like you go into the grave and you're still mad, you know? Like that's what we should be feeling for what took place. Not only to blacks, but to natives. And so it's like they want to wipe away any wrongdoing, but don't want to acknowledge that healing from that wrongdoing is the only way to overcome it. It's the lack of wisdom that we apply as a country that helps me understand how young of a country we are. Toddler spiritual energy is what I call that. In a sense, you move like a baby as it pertains to your understanding of what it is that'll help you actually get the type of foundation that you're hoping to receive. You don't do that by running from your problems. You do that by addressing not only the problems, but what you've done to make it go away, rather than actually make it disappear for good. I'm not of the mindset that we need to start getting angry with people we do not know for things that did not happen to our personal selves. But what I am saying is, as I try to look inward and find some peace in regards to what happened in this country, in behaving this way makes it very difficult for me to obtain it. And like I said, I don't speak for other brains because I don't think I'm in like anyone else. So I'm not speaking for black people. I'm speaking for Brandon. Brandon is having a hard time through 38 years of life, honestly and genuinely with love in his heart, understanding why he's not living, first of all, in absolute paranoia. Okay, let's not talk about the fear or the anger. Let's talk about the paranoia that should be natural when you embody what it is that we embody in this country. Because We're the minorities. We're the disenfranchised. We're the ones looked at as the ones doing all the work in terms of the bad work, the problems. We're doing all the bad stuff. We're the ones that get pointed at for a lot of different things. We're the ones that wear the skin that has the natural moniker of good and bad, being bad as the natural moniker of what it is that we're supposed to be looked at, just off of the sheer nature of how human beings see things. When they're in the dark, they can't see. That is equated to evil. When in the light, they can see. That's equated to goodness. White lies, not so bad. The only black thing that's actually good that I've seen in regards to that is Black Friday, and that's because they get to sell everything for cheaper, give it away, worthlessly. This is something that I've learned to understand that has been molded not only as it pertains to looking at people and skin colors, but looking at just light and dark in general. I'm supposed to have the mindset that I live as a person who's in depression because I don't like lights on sometimes. I've been raised to believe that that's a trait of someone who's depressed, but I can assure you, when I'm sitting here in the dark, just like I am right now, there's no depression. Do you know what I feel? Clarity. There's nothing distracting me from my mind. I can barely see, so there's nothing around here that's keeping my mind from staying on focus. That's why I like being in the dark. But I've been told that I like being in the dark because I have depression. Now, I do have depression, but that's not a byproduct of it. But do you see what I'm trying to express to you guys? We've been uniformed to believe certain things about ourselves as it pertains to how we're supposed to react to certain things. But as I wake up in my own mind, I look around and I say, no, I've been manipulated. I've had certain buttons pressed in my head to assure that I behave a certain way. I've been given certain norms, certain things that I'm supposed to agree to and believe in that don't actually heal the concerns that I have about truths that I've found. And that is something that my country has helped me along with by continuing to pull a rug over the subject of slavery and over the subject of stolen land. These are things that I live with as an identity factor, including the truth that I, BDF 44, have slave owners in his family. I, too, am part slave owner. I'm not running from that bin. I harbor that on my spirit as well because of my ancestors, just like you. That's the truth about America. A good portion of Black Americans have the harboring of both slave owner and slave on their souls. We don't get to run from either, and because of it, I don't think this is a conversation where I get to just simply say I'm mad and then I get to lash out. Because if I get to be mad, I get to be mad at me. I look in the mirror, I see the features of the slave owner and the slave, and that is why this conversation does not need to be swept under the rug, because it's not a good portion of Black people that get to be mad at anyone other than ourselves when we think about slavery because of what that has happened to us. We were raped. Our grandparents, our grandfathers. We didn't have a choice in the matter. A lot of times we weren't procreating. We were being stolen from. Our seeds were stolen from. Our woman's bosom was stolen from. The life's blood of what it is that we had. The soul and the energy that we poured into us, the prayers that we had, they poured them into their children because we loved their children, because they were our children. And that's the point. We cannot seem to figure out why we can't be at odds with one another, because we are not one another. We are all one. And that is why we need to heal together. And that is why we need to address this together. And that is why people like me need to be able to express what we feel and listen to other people's conversations in regards to it instead of forgetting that it happened. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow morning and start fighting people I don't know because of truths I've always known that have not allowed me an opportunity to heal. I'm not going to do that. But if you continue to tell me that it didn't happen, that awakening that needs to happen in order for me to heal, it becomes more difficult. Much more difficult. Because now I get to continue to live in a world like a world we were in for the last 450 years, where people were telling us that wrong was right, that up was down, and that our natural reactions to certain situations are not valid. Can't heal there. Can't win there. Can't be free there. See, I'm one of those people who understand that everything that comes out of my mouth is going to be perceived a certain way, but I also understand that before I know it, I'm going to be out of here. Life is fast. You can be in and out. And the one thing I know for a fact is I don't know what comes next. So I don't have time to waste moments like these lying to people like you about anything, whoever you are. Human beings, I have no interest in hiding my feelings about my outrage about slavery from any of you. Slavery destroyed a lot. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm not talking about my people. I'm talking about in this world, the practice of taking people's freedom and forcing them to build nations has eaten away at the compassion in the hearts of humanity. And I'm not talking about whites. I'm talking about reaching all the way back to when it was acceptable in biblical days. When you're forcing people to live, to serve you, you are creating generations of pain, torture, and the instability of foundation for people who are going to be coming long after the people who were slaves lived. And an impossible situation for the descendants of slave owners as well to try to make up for what was done there. To try to live with the natural outrage that comes with the circumstance. It's a safety issue for a lot of them in my mind. Because if they allow us to come to a natural conclusion without coercing us with these rugs in any way, it's going to be a good fast for the people who wake up and react naturally. And that makes chaos. I know that. But if we don't find a way to heal from this properly, that chaos is coming, and it's coming in an exaggerated way. Just like any other pressure-bound thing. Eventually, when that pressure comes through, it's pushing through a lot harder, a lot faster, and a lot stronger than it ever should have. If it would have been able to flowingly move properly. That's what I'm saying. And I don't see this as no different. Y'all keep on putting a muzzle over our country in regards to this conversation, and it's going to end up in a lot of burning buildings and crazy situations, people going nuts. It don't have to be this year, it don't have to be the next year, it don't have to be this generation. It's going to be one of these generations of people who are going to wake up, not be coerced by these norms that aren't normal, not going to be in a world where lies come as frequently as they do to us in this way, or hidden truths. And all people are going to be left with is the outrage they seen when they watch Roots, which is ultimately what they're trying to keep from people from having happen today. I know exactly what PBS is thinking. They don't want a Roots uprising. In the internet age, they don't want people who can understand how quickly information get passed around to start understanding just how awful slavery actually was. Because most people alive today, I don't believe, actually know some of the details and the horrors of those circumstances. I think they understand that slavery took place. I think they understand that it ended. I think they understand that people suffered. I think they understand people were upset. But I don't think they understand exactly the details and the creativity of the artistry of the torturing that their ancestors, our ancestors, inflicted on black people. Black people were canvases for the art of torture. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It wasn't as simple as us building your country. You guys experimented on us in some very strange ways just to get off. Just to get off. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, as far as I can tell, there's nothing normal about the behavior of these people. Us, them, none of it. Today, none of it. It's nothing, it's not normal. And I don't think there's a single soul who's actually saying this right now. I ain't heard a soul say, yo, hey, why are we cool? Nothing. We should be up. It should be up all lifelong. Everybody should be at odds with each other because of the history of this country. Nobody should be able to look at each other in the eye and say, you know what? Yeah, we're all friends. How? After what has happened? How do we do it? I know exactly how we did it. Propaganda. Commercials. Magazines. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Church. Anything that would otherwise uniform your mind. Anything that would otherwise have you stand next to somebody else in an agreement. Those are the type of things that were manipulated enough times to make it so that we just say, you know what? Nah, it's rude to even mention slavery. And I need to consider the feelings of white Americans when I'm considering what took place to me. That happened to me. I need to be very, very aware that I'm going to offend them, and that is something I should not do. I'm wired to believe that. And I'm betraying it forcefully. And that's what I want people who are watching me to understand. I believe myself to be bleeding through. And when I say bleeding through, I mean like trying to picture me surfing, or picture me trying to swim through leaves, branches, trying to get through tall leaves. Picture me trying to push my way through. That's what it feels like. Through all the clutter of the manipulation or otherwise keeping me docile. Keeping me from being angry, righteously angry. I feel like I've been told that it's rude to assess the damage or to internalize it. I was on a forum yesterday morning actually. This is what put me in such a bad mood I was in yesterday. First thing I saw yesterday, 24 hours ago, probably to the very second. Went on a Bill Russell forum. I guess it was NBA TV was letting us know that they were celebrating Bill Russell by retiring his jersey, and I looked in the comments section, and it was a elderly African American lady who had put something on there saying something along the lines of, you treated him poorly in life, but now want to honor him in death, or something like that. And it was some people in the comment section responding in a very, in some ways I thought it was natural reactions, I think, to what it is that they saw. There was a lot of people who were taking offense to that. Mainly Caucasian people that I saw, they were taking offense to her challenging the fact that the NBA hadn't treated him right. But see, in growing up in a household with a black lady, in certain ways that they phrase certain things and talking about, I understood that she wasn't referring to they necessarily as the NBA. She was referring to they as white folks. And that is how she was referring to it. I'm telling you the truth. I know exactly what she was talking about. Because my mom and my grandmama, and they would talk like that. Now they want to go help them. She wasn't talking about the they is in those people. We're talking about how we are treated in this country by y'all. That's what she was referring to. You treat us poorly when we're trying to stand up for our rights. When we're trying to tell you that something's wrong. When we're trying to tell you, hey, we're not being treated right. When we're telling you, hey, we're not feeling good about this energy that we're receiving. You treat us like crap when that is going on. But when history reveals that we were right in how we were standing, and time passes to where your norms catch up to our stances, then you come back around when history says it's fine to do so and start celebrating us. That's what this lady was referring to. That's exactly what she was saying. That's all she was trying to express. She just didn't express it in the fullness that I just did. That's how she sees it. That's how I see it in a lot of cases. They're going to do the same thing to Kaepernick. They did the same thing to Muhammad Ali. They did the same thing to all the people who stood up. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, anybody who ever stood up for anything in this country in regards to the mistreatment of black people or the indifference that is being shown toward black people. When they have a voice, they get shunned in real time and celebrated when they're dead. We're tired of it. It's the same type of coercion and rug pulling, I don't know if that's the way to put it, but rug covering that we're talking about. These are the little things that they do to try to make it so that slavery is not talked about. And we're going to talk about it. Simple as that. We're going to talk about you not wanting us to talk about it more specifically. it's gotten to a point where it's just like, this needs to be said on my channel. I don't want people who watch me to not know where I stand on certain things, because they encompass everything about me as it pertains to how I view myself in the world and what it is that I'm doing. It's why I take certain stances in the positions that I take, because I do not like seeing this type of behavior enacted on human beings. Not black ones, not white ones, not Asian ones, not Spanish ones, nobody. I don't want to see people stuck in situations where they don't have the freedom to move. I truly and utterly believe that we're in the middle of a situation where the generation we're in is just basically disposable, and they don't care about our opinions. They don't care about our healing. They don't care about the wisdom that we relate to our children as it pertains to coping with the circumstances that we're living in. They don't care that we're able to pass that to our kids. All they care about is that we take on the norms that they want us to receive, behave the way they want us to behave, and pay into what it is they want us to invest in. That is the only thing that we have purpose for as a generation, and that, my friends, is why I speak the way I do. Because I think a lot of people who live today think themselves to be the center of the world, and what they don't realize is that they're not even a factor to the people that control them. And that is something we need to wake up and step out and be heard about. And this is how they do it. When we can't heal from certain things like this, when we can't heal from big stuff like slavery, and they're continuing to enact these different rug pulling, so to speak, rug covering practices on our heads and our minds to make us feel and think abnormally, you find yourselves in situations where you wake up and you don't realize how things have gotten so bad so quickly. That's what ends up happening when you do that to a people who haven't been fully coerced out of understanding that truth. You haven't successfully gotten us to forget. So trying to make us forget while we're watching is offensive. That's what it is that I'm trying to express. And Ben, I don't know how other black people feel, but bro, I always thought your family were slave owners, bro. Every white person I see that's born in America, that has American roots, I just automatically think you either have slave or slave owner in your family, bro. Yes, slave too, yes. Yes. A lot of y'all walk around don't even know it. Fam, you got as much slave blood as anybody. While you're sitting up saying you're not offended by slavery, you probably have more slave blood than someone who is. It's hard to tell in this land, baby. Very hard to tell. You don't know who's who. That's why it's not as simple as me being mad at you. But I can be if you're telling me not to try to heal from what it is that angers me. And be mad at you for that. And that's exactly what it is that you've been telling me my entire life. I want to heal from slavery in America. BDF 44, I want to heal from that. Before I die, I want to get to a place where I've forgiven, where I've found peace, where I feel like I've been given what it is that I deserve in response to that. And I ain't talking about me, I'm talking about my people. We never talk about me when we say that. But I feel like I want peace. In regards to this subject, I want to go on my grave with this being settled. I know it ain't gonna happen. I know it's not gonna happen. I don't expect it to happen. I'm not even praying for it to happen, because the environment for which it can happen doesn't even exist because of stuff like this. But that's what I hope to lend myself against. Hopefully this seed is one of several that can be planted, that can overall change the norms of how it is that we operate as it pertains to this subject, and maybe several others that we do the same thing to. Now looking with regards to my Native American roots, I don't find no healing there at all. I find no peace for that situation either. That's why I've already mentioned it more than once in the video, because it's the same thing. I look at that and I just say, I must be in some trance. I'm fully aware that my great-grandmother was Native American, that my grandfather on my dad's side was half Native American. Blackfoot, Choctaw, Cherokee. I know exactly who I am. And I know what you did to us too. Very upset about it, very hurt about it. Still want some healing, still want some fixing up for that. I want something right for the natives. And I don't feel like what they've received in that regard has fully brought to light what it is that they went through. I don't believe that. Not at all. I don't think enough Americans are fully aware, from household to household to household, what exactly took place in order for us to be able to stand on this land. And I don't think we know. I think they want us to enjoy the land. I think they want us to behave on the land. I think, like I said, they want us to invest in the land. But they don't want us to know just how horrible our forefather was in dreaming up the creation of the society that we benefit from. These people were devils in their hearts, and we need to be honest about that as we move, because we're in a cancel culture, and each and every one of those individuals would be canceled if they were to be inserted in our time. We would have canceled all of your forefathers. Every last one of those guys that have statues don't meet your standards socially. Not a single one of them. And that's something we all need to not be hypocrites about as we cancel one another and all of these different things that we go through as we try to hold one another accountable for our moral imbalances and things of that nature. We do need to understand that the entire country and the foundation of our financial system as well is built on a moral compass that was not very good at all. And that's being extremely kind. See, people who talk like this, they don't like people who talk like this. And I'm not talking about the NBA. But here's the thing. I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to do it in such a way where you're going to understand the fullness of my perspective as it pertains to me being a flawed individual and being okay with being flawed, constantly looking inward for healing, and running into roadblocks such as these when trying to do so. That's why this is coming up. That's why we're talking about this in my therapy session, because when I look inward for all of the things that harm and hurt and traumatize, those two things, I get nothing for. No closure. Everything else is coming around. Different personal traumas, mommy issues, relationship, holding on to old relationship nonsense, confusion in regards to that, entitlement, selfishness. All of that, I'm healing. I'm getting somewhere. I'm finding breakthroughs in every single one of those areas. But as it pertains to the internal pain that I harbor for slavery and the Native American suffering, I'm not getting better. And I think a lot of people may look at me and say, he's capping. That's not a real problem for him. He doesn't suffer from those things. And then I would look at a person who says that and I'd say, you may not. But when I think about the behavior that I have to participate in the agreement that my feelings are not valid, in the agreement that my outrage is invalid, in the agreement that those who are outraged at me for being outraged are valid, and that they actually have a voice or a leg to stand on despite the history. That disrupts the ego. That's what people need to understand about the perspective that I harbor. That doesn't just affect the emotions. That's stringing against that thing that makes me feel like I'm a powerful man, like I can stand on my square, holding whatever it is that I have to protect myself, and feel confident that I can fend off anything. That's what that challenges, to be exact. So yes, I'm directly affected by this because it affects my esteem and how I view myself as a person. Just me. I'm speaking for nobody else, because I don't believe every black person feels this way. I don't. This is this brain. Now I gotta go out into the world and question whether or not I have a right to feel what it is that I feel as I feel it. When I look at people look at me, I gotta question whether or not the presence of certain things are there. knowing full well that if I were to open my mouth to react to that, I may be reacted to a certain way that I don't like. We live with those feelings all day long. We have to put out those little fires all day long if we live amongst people who don't look like us. Those are fires we're putting out all day long. We're wondering how we're perceived. We're wondering if the presence of racism is there. We're wondering if we're wrong because of the rug crap for questioning whether or not racism is there. We got to defend ourselves or be defensive once we sense racism and feel like it's necessary to speak out about it. Now we got to wonder how we're going to be retaliated against, or how we're going to be perceived, or how we're going to be made fun of for pulling the race card. We didn't pull it. You pulled us out of our country and made us work for 450 years. Let's be very clear about that, because I am very triggered by race card, as if it's something that I chose. No, I inherited that, buddy. You gave it to me. So that is what I got to say. 41 minutes of outrage, man. I'm outraged at the fact that we're not outraged, that we haven't allowed ourselves to heal from this, because we allow those who did this to us to control the narrative. That's what I'm upset about. I'm a black man, and I believe I'm talking to white people who may actually have something to do, not with, but something to do about this. People who may be very wealthy. People who may actually be able to speak with some people who would directly be able to stop some of the rug stuff from happening. I hope my voice can reach some of y'all. And when I say I'm looking to heal, I'm looking to heal. I'm not looking to kill, I'm looking to heal. And I can't do either. I can't do either. And I'm telling you, if I was a lion in the jungle and you did whatever you did for 450 years, the first thing I'm doing, well, all I'm saying is that this behavior isn't normal, man. Nothing about any of this is normal. You throw a bunch of ants in an ant farm, they're not going to act like this. You know what I'm saying? That this is not the behavior you're going to get out of the animals if you treat them that way. You got to do stuff to that animal to make them behave that way. Those things have been done to us. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.